Hi guys, I'm Moritz from Der Mann mit der Maschine together with Matthias, der Mann mit der Maschine. How did the project come to life?
At those days, I wanted to create a module with an enhanced version of a Turing machine that has several channels and more parameters, and I couldn't decide which pot to use, which CV input and so on. If I were to put every ideas on every channel, I would need 80 HP of faceplate. Either you drop some features, which is very hard for me, or you make it configurable for the user. That was the idea. Let's make it configurable. The user decides. For example, you have 3 pods. Pod A is this function, pod B, and so on. And
so as you were already in the digital domain, you decided to move on and make it configurable.
Yes, configurable. And then maybe I jumped to the idea to make it even more configurable and make it more flexible. And why restrict this to a Turing machine? We can also make a sequencer, envelopes, whatever. So I decided to create this small configuration syntax for DROID. And one important idea at the end was that you can put several functions into one module, kind of modules within modules. And I called them circuits, and that's how it is today. So
you basically decided to make a Swiss Army knife for CV generation and processing.
Yes. Sometimes I say DROID is like a modular system within one module, but it's dedicated to CV.
Okay. So this already answered another question from our list that was, will there be any audio processing within DROID in the future? I mean,
the hardware would be capable. We have these very high precision DA converters and AD converters. We already output with 50 kilohertz of frequency, so the hardware would be capable, but it would require a completely different architecture of the software with less flexibility.
Okay, I see.
And so the way DROID is built, it cannot process audio because the architecture is completely non-suitable for that, and so the answer is no. I mean, there's some guys that try to make audio and really created interesting ambient sounds by letting a couple of LFOs run in audio.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
If you want, you can try, but no.
It's not.
The short
planned.
answer is no.
Oh, okay. Are there any plans to open source the DROID firmware at any point?
There are no plans right now. Might be in the future. Who knows?
Okay.
Making a closed software open source does not... I mean, real open source software is built in a way that's capable for a collaborative project. There's documentation, the code is clean, and you have all this test engineering around and so on. And so making something open source is not just changing the license.
Okay.
It requires much work. It requires a community. It requires better documentation and so on. So it's much work, a time that can be spent in creating yet more features.
Yeah.
So it's not my main focus right now.
Okay. Will there be a Linux version of Forge?
Maybe. The DROID Forge is open source. It's GPL version 3. It's based on C++ and the Qt toolkit, which is available on Linux. So all you need to create a Linux port is get it compiled on Linux and implement some stuff like MIDI implementation and SD card access, which is operation system specific. And some people have started, but nobody finished it.
Okay.
So I will probably not invest time because I've a list of features and ideas.
Yeah.
But it's completely possible.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's a community project rather than we do it on ourselves.
Yeah, maybe we need to regain the community effort and try it again because, as I said, a couple of people already tried.
Yeah.
So maybe,
Yeah. How much time do you have to actually perform live and not develop the DROID universe?
Yeah, I mean, live concerts I play about let's say 2 to 5 a year, so it's not very much.
Yeah,
because it needs some preparation. It needs carrying all this crazy stuff around.
yeah, I've been there.
And then of course we make studio recordings,
Yeah.
and that's also kind of live music. Yeah.
Who are you working with studio-wise?
Most times I work with Mario Schönhofer from Ströme. And the way we make music is basically playing live just in the studio.
Okay.
So we don't make multi-track recording or we don't layer tracks and edit and everything. We switch record on, then we play. After a couple of minutes, we say stop, and then we make the next take because this one was not perfect until we are satisfied. And then, that's the way we make music.
Yeah, I guess, that's the way to go. When
it's more playing and less working. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Any new controllers in the pipeline in the foreseeable future?
The point is, we had such a great success with the surprise launch of the E4.
Yeah.
It was really fun for everyone.
It was fun, yeah.
It's also fun because you don't need to wait. When you get the announcement, you can immediately buy it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we switched to not announcing things that we cannot deliver.
Yeah.
So the answer is we don't say anything here.
We don't say anything here.
We don't answer here.
Are you planning more out-of-the-box sequencer circuits?
What do you mean with that?
I think the question refers to the algoquencer or the motoquencer.
We currently have 3. We have the algoquencer, we have the sequencer, which is very basic, and we have the motoquencer. And
the encoquencer we also have.
Yeah, the encoquencer. So my idea, if I invest some time in the sequencer topic, I rather reduce the number of sequencers and make just one sequencer that has all the features. Because currently the motosequencer does not have things like variation or morphing. And the algoquencer does not support motor faders and so on. So in an ideal world, you would have one circuit that's very easy. Use cases are easy to do.
Yeah.
But complex would work with any kind of control. So
yeah. Okay, I see.
The only exception is that I don't know if it's a question on the list, but if it's not, one thing that's still missing for my live setup is I still use the Symphonion as a chord progression sequencer. And that's one of the few remaining uses. And 84 HP is a lot of resources for just that. So I think that DROID ecosystem should have a good chord progression sequencer that can progress, that can change root node and scale over the time, but also create four voiced chords and so on.
Yeah, I think it was a topic that was discussed a lot recently in the Discord
I think it's an important building block if you want to make kind of melodic tonal music.
Sure, yeah.
And that's doable with DROID, but it's kind of hard and not so hands-on.
Okay. How far are you already with this circuit?
I've not started. I'm still collecting ideas in my head.
Yeah, okay, I see. Are you planning more out-of-the-box sequencer circuits? Cartesian, for example, or Stochastic?
Planning. I mean, the question is, what does plan mean? I have a very long list of ideas. And sometimes I take the list and pick out some of the ideas. Many ideas come from the community. Some are my own ideas. But also there's an important rule of DROID that's always first fix the bugs. So
yeah, okay.
So as long as I know any bugs, I need to fix them first. And you are limited in resources. You have a limited amount of RAM. You have a limited amount of CPU power on such a module. So I invested very much time in the Blue 6 release to reduce the used RAM and also the CPU power. So that means you can run more complex things and still don't run into a too large latency.
Okay. As RAM improvements continue and circuit gets added, is there any thought going into tools for making patches less unwieldy? Perhaps allowing users to bundle circuit blocks they're using often without having to define all the internal patch cables in example, Algoquencer into Miniphonion.
I mean, it would introduce great complexity.
Yeah.
You would need to handle these bundles in the forge and name them and declare which cable is internal, which is external. Then you have maybe a name conflict of the cable, the same name internal, the external. You need to automatically rename it and so on and so on. Lots of complexity. And if this really helps at the end so much, I'm not convinced, to be honest. I mean, I am always open for things that makes life easier. But everything has a price. And if the price is too high, the price in complexity for the user, then I'd rather wait until everything gets clearer and the ideas get simpler.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. How do you approach a more complex problem?
Okay,
if you want to solve it with using circuits in DROID.
I have two advices. My first advice is always, especially if you're not so experienced with DROID, always make small changes that you can immediately test. If your patch needs 10 features, just build one, test it if it works. If that works, add something, test it again. Do not write 5 hours a super complex patch and you test it, nothing works. Because it's
troubleshooting is going to be
troubleshooting is not so easy if it's super complex. Yeah, if you change just one thing and that doesn't work, you know where to look for the problem. Obviously, if you make too many steps at once, it's harder to find the reason why something. It's like patching. You know, when you patch,
I know. Yeah,
you don't patch 100 cables, switch on the rack, and what's going on.
So that's a fun experiment. I did that already a few times.
Creating a DROID patch is really much like creating a normal patch on your rack because you decide which modules to use, you decide how to connect them and the parameters. It's exactly the same decisions, just cheaper.
Yeah.
And so that's my first advice. Make small iterations. The second advice is if you come with a complex finished idea, you will most probably fail. I've seen this complex sequence. I want to build exactly the same in DROID. That's super hard. It's like a modular system. You listen to a crazy sound and want to replicate exactly that sound with your modular. It's very unlikely to happen. Other sounds will happen that you like more, maybe.
Yeah,
that's super hard. So better you need what problem you want to solve, what musical idea you want to make, and make it a little bit different. Use that's available at DROID. What can I make out of that? Like a modular, you have a module, you try around, use what it has, and do not try to force something else over it. If you're super experienced, you can do that, but it's very hard because you lose so many time with small details. Like I want to, when I hold this button and press that one, that should happen, and so on. And
I think
often a waste of time.
Yeah. If you start making a patch that has a few of one instances, then you should do the one instance to get it fully work, and then duplicate.
Yes, that's exactly.
Spread it up. Because otherwise you're solving the same problem in 5 of the same one.
Yes, that's maybe the third advice. Exactly. So if you, for example, if you build a sequencer with 4 tracks, you can first create the 4 tracks, then add a feature, and you always need to add it 4 times, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So better just make 1 track.
Yeah, exactly.
Then one advice is for your internal patch cables within the track, create the names with a prefix. For example, the number of the track or the number of the instrument, and then if you copy and then put that into one section of the patch. At the end, you can copy the section. And there's a cool feature in the Forge where you can rename all patch cables and change the prefix. So that's how I created.
Very helpful,
So
I think you mentioned that already in one of the how-to videos on our YouTube
maybe.
channel.
That's the way I created my performance sequencer before it got a patch generator.
Patch generator. How does a new controller come to existence?
I mean, the first controller was the P2B8, which has pots and buttons. That's still the most universal one because you can basically do everything with it.
That's the one to go if you want to start a new
If you just have
system.
one controller, you go with the P2B8. then at some point it was clear it would be cool to have encoders like we have in the E4 now, because encoders, with encoders it's much easier to map several functions onto one knob than with pods. You don't have this pickup problem. And then you have the visual feedback with the LED square. And that was pretty clear that it's useful to have such a controller. And of course, I had this motor fader idea already for a very long time, before even DROID.
Okay, really?
And DROID really makes the motor faders shine, because it does not make sense to create a normal UREG module with motor faders. For example, you have an envelope controlled with motor faders, then it can do just envelopes. Just in one way, and the DROID can really make use. You can overlay them with many functions, make it sequencing this, that, and so on. So that's really a perfect match.
I mean, with motor faders and encoders, it has been very obvious, because this is super useful. But for instance, the P8S8.
I mean, every module has
coming soon.
Every module has its own little story, because. I mean, the P8S8, for example, the idea was to have a module with the small sliders. Many love these small sliders. So I thought, let's make a module with them. Okay, we have still space. What should we put there? We can make buttons, but then it's very similar to the P2B8. So I went for the small switches, because I like these switches.
Direct haptic. I mean, this module is basically made to be a modulation sequencer, an 8-step modulation sequencer.
Yes, why not? But also you can make envelopes,
true.
You can, like always in DROID, a controller is not dedicated to one certain task.
That's for sure. But if I look at this thing, for me personally, was like, oh well, there you go, let's do this. It's a
and then there, for example, the P4, B2 with the 4 pods. I said, okay, big pods is good. We start with the P10. This was the second controller with the P10. Let's make a controller with lots of pods.
Fiddly stuff.
So we have in 5 HP, you have 10 pods. That's 2 pods per HP. It's quite a lot. But I have very big fingers. So I personally don't like the P10 too much, because for my fingers, it's. I mean,
I don't see too many in your rig.
No, I don't play one. P10 is good if you have settings that you rarely change. And it's quite cheap. It's easy. It's easy to understand and so on. That was the reason why we made the P10 and then the P4, P2, because we want to offer big pods instead of small ones. So we get just 4 pods instead of 10 on 5 HP, but they're bigger. And what else do we have? Then the B32. The idea was, okay, if we now have these motor faders and stuff, we need lots of buttons to switch between the functions. And then was the question, should we make it B8, a B16, a B32, even a B64? How many buttons should we put onto the module?
I think it's totally the golden middle.
We need, because if you make a B16, it wouldn't be half of the price of the B32, of course. Because we still have one controller, you have a module, you have a box, everything. So the price per button would go up and go up. So that's not good for you if it's too expensive. And a B64 would be already very big and expensive.
That's a huge footprint then.
So the B32 is a perfect sweet spot, and it turned out to be great.
What is needed from the software development point of view to bring a controller to life?
Completely depends on which controller this is. So the P8S8 is super simple, because with switches we already have in some modules, and sliders are the same as pods. LEDs we already have. So this software was done in, I think, 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Much more complicated is the E4, because now we have the encoders, we have the LED rings. We need new circuits to really play with this encoders. We have 4 new circuits, and so the Forge needs an update. The DROID Master needs an update. So this is super complicated. Also the motor faders, of course.
So this were more in the months of work realm.
So it's more like a new kind of control. So if I now create a E2, for example, it's super easy.
Obviously. Okay. I'd love to hear about your philosophy on future DROID circuits. Is your focus more on flexible building blocks or more polished, fully featured circuits like the motor sequencer?
Both. Both, because that's an interesting thing about. I mean, it's, again, like a real modular system, you have these super small utility modules. It's just a 3-in-1 unity gain mixer.
Yeah.
And then you have a 84 HP sequencer with lots of features. And you need both of them, because if you want to be creative and build your own stuff, you need these small modules that do basic things that you combine.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like the motoquencer, it's so complex, it wouldn't be possible to construct this from small circuits.
Yeah.
So in this case, I create the large circuits that do many things out of the box, but they're not as flexible because they make certain decisions for you, and you cannot change them.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off. So we always try to have both. And if I have a new idea for a super simple small circuit, I will do it often because it's very simple to create these small circuits.
Okay, yeah.
So someone suggested a kind of flip-flop circuit.
Yeah.
I think, okay, I need just a couple of hours. Let's make it.
Yeah.
It's small. It doesn't cost many space in the Droid. Why not?
Okay.
If it's helpful.
How does der Mann mit der Maschine himself use DROID? How many masters and controllers does he use in his monster performance case?
The answer is, in my life system, I removed almost all of the traditional CV modules. There are some utilities like mixing modules, of course. These are audio utilities. Of course, I need them. And I think I have 2 Döpfer 4 HP LFOs, because I get 4 LFOs and 4 HP. And that's something, why not?
Yeah, it's
a cool module. And
probably it's also a little bit too, how to say, a waste of a droid.
Yes, also for direct patching. If I, in a live situation, I just need an LFO for something, then I can throw a cable. But that's the only places where I still use traditional CV modules. Everything else is done with DROID. I think currently I have 6 masters.
6 masters.
But I think you could squeeze that into 4 or 3. It's just because this grew and grew and grew.
Yeah. And you're lazy and don't want to repatch everything.
I have a very cheap supply of DROID masters. Sometimes prototypes. So sometimes I just take a new master because it makes my life easier than to change the existing stuff.
Yeah. And you link all of them with the MIDI clock, right?
Common signals are clock signal, a reset signal. So if I start the music, every circuit knows that it's in sync. Then I have the current root node and the current scale.
Okay.
So these are the 4 most important CVs that are distributed in the system.
Okay. So every master knows where we are at a certain point.
I mean it's like a band, you know. You say 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the sync and the clock, the reset and the clock you have. Yeah. And the root node and the scale is the second thing you need, and then you can play together. So it's like the masters is like a band. They play together, and they need these 4 things. And because people often ask, how can I connect my DROID modules and make one big out of it? I think it's not necessary. It's just really a basic information that you need for your modules to play together.
Okay. So 4 of the inputs of each DROID are always fed with these 4 signals. Is
Depends
that correct?
on. Some modules don't need the root information. For example, I have one that just makes envelopes. So obviously it doesn't have this.
Okay.
I need a complete rework.
Okay.
Restart from scratch someday. But
I mean, rebuilding a modular that is that complex isn't probably that easy. Okay.
I mean, it's not so complex as it looks, because you have the separation of the control and you have the voices. You know, you have several synth voices, and these voices don't have many interconnections. Yeah. And then I have the control, but
sure, it's a lot of screws.
Sometimes I find a button and it has some function I have completely forgotten what it does.
Okay. That happened to me as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Just recently, but I found out again.
Sometimes you find out again and say, wow, that's a really cool feature. And sometimes
it's just like,
your idea didn't really work out.
No,
so if you don't use it, then get rid of it, make something else.
Yeah, exactly. Use the space for something else.
I think it's important that you have to have space for movement. So if every button is used and you have a new idea, you don't have space.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember as you gave me my first master and the first few modules. I guess it was a live kit that you sent me. and I started patching my Droid patch, and you said, there is plenty of outputs. You won't need too many in the beginning, and within 2 weeks,
Yes.
everything was just like I was calling you. Said, don't we have more outputs somewhere?
Yes.
And then I started using the G8 and the X7, and it did work, but.
With the G8 you can also modulate things that are not gate. For example, I use them for velocity modulation.
Yeah.
Then you have just low and high velocity.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes for musical ideas, it's enough. You have this accents and so on.
That's for sure. But you have. I mean, it's like with every module, you have to find your way around. It's just like
that's the whole modular.
Is it worth spending this jack for this kind of functionality, or is there another possibility to do it in another way? So
yeah, sure.
And
if you don't want limitations, go computer. And create your music in a DAW. That's
now, as you say that, I mean, you could easily build a very nice interfacing for the use with the computer as well with the Droid.
I mean, it exists. You can use MIDI over USB.
Sure. Yeah.
You can transport, I think, probably any information you want. So
yeah.
Hybrid setups are possible.
Also MIDI via the regular mini jack is
yes, of course. Thing, so. But with USB you have more bandwidth. You can make more changes per second. And if you anyway use a computer, probably you would use a USB cable, and then you can.
Now, as USB-C to USB-C also works,
yes.
is a pretty nice thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. It's not only modular.
I prefer the modular, but that's a personal style. So I'm you for example, you can use the motor fader sequencer in your rack to control synth voices in your logic. It's complete vice versa than
I was thinking about integrating it even deeper lately, because I was thinking getting rid of some of the hardware and using the computer more, because it's more a tinier setup, rather than bring in even more gear.
Of course.
And so it's really cool that you could do so many things with it and simply skip pages and then use one setup with a totally different functionalities via MIDI to control the DAW or even synthesizers in the DAW. And
I mean, for me the most important thing is it's I want to have it creative.
Yeah.
And it needs to inspire me.
Yeah.
The user interface.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is totally doable for all of the things you could do. Either midify it or have it midified or using it with.
Depends on your budget, of course. If you already have a computer, then software is cheap.
I was using an iPad as a polysynth as a sidecar for the modular, and that worked just like a charm. It was just.
I mean, the fun thing is many years ago. You used a computer to sequence your modular.
Yeah.
Now you use a modular to sequence your computer.
Yeah.
And why not?
I was trying out a different sequencer.
Unlocks,
exactly.
Yeah,
the Droid unlocks a system.
Unlocks, you finally have a way to control all your stuff.
It's like talking to your modular, finally.
Yes.
For me, it was totally eye-opening, because I was using sequencers of different brands and whatnot, and I don't know, control interfaces of any kind. And then I started using Droid, and for me, it was just like, what the hell is going on? The first time in my 15 years of modular synthesis, I have the feeling that I can actually play the system as I want it to be. It's very intuitive. As you
can make it intuitive for you.
As you patch it yourself, you know everything about the interfacing or the processing. So you learn it by doing, and you're basically teaching it to do what you want, and then it actually works.
I think you make two things. The one thing is that you automate stuff.
Yeah.
You create little modulation sequences, whatever. So things happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that you give yourself controls to musically interesting parameters on the controllers.
Yeah.
And just those.
It's also like having being able to define metas. Like, for instance, for me in my music, I found out that I need one button or one knob to escalate things.
Yeah, make your music great.
Make your music great, and then like a huge impact with just one turn of a knob.
Yeah, for example, like the activity knob on the ergo sequencer, and if you use the same knob for all your drum voices.
I'm talking filter cutoff of all of the voices at once, and at the same time of all of the releases of the envelope. So you really can crank it to the absolute mayhem and bring it back in within 1 second. And this is it's just great. There is nothing out there that is well, I think there is nothing that is so in an integrated system that works exactly like that.
Yeah.
How to start with DROID. Matthias, der Mann mit der Maschine, is gonna give us an answer. What modules to buy first?
Okay, which depends on your budget, of course, but if you
small budget at first.
Okay,
obviously.
Small budget, then of course you need one DROID master.
Yeah.
You could use the normal master. We discussed this later, just one of these two.
Okay.
And then I strongly recommend at least one controller, because that's where the fun comes in, where you can influence your patch and so on. And that's the P2B8, because you have 2 pots, you have 8 buttons.
That's basically the Swiss Army knife of controller modules.
It's also the cheapest one. And that's my recommendation.
Okay, and from there on, how would you expand the system?
It depends on what you want to do with it. Is it more about sequencing or more about utility, like a few LFOs and envelopes and so on? I think from there on, if you have gotten some experience with the first setup, then you will know which controller you want as the next one.
Okay.
Or maybe an X7, which gives MIDI access and access to the SD card.
Yeah. What would you go for a start with if you have a bigger budget?
Then I would probably recommend the Live Kit. The Live Kit is a big box with 6 modules, a DROID Master, a G8 expander with gates, and 4 controllers. And yeah, that's a good mixture. And of course, it comes at a good price, and you're super flexible what to do with it.
What controllers are included? I guess a P2B8, obviously.
Yeah, there are 2 P2B8s.
Yeah.
There's one S10 with switches, which is really one of, I think, my favorite module, because you have the direct haptic feedback of the switches.
It's 8 of them are 3-way switches, 2 of them are 8-way rotary switches, which are really clicky and nice. Yeah, the good
really
ones.
Nice. And then you have a P10 with 10 pots.
Yeah.
So lots of things to change. It's fun.
It's fun.
And we've sold quite a lot of these.
No B32 though.
Yeah, the B32 is when you want to go into direction with very complex patches.
Or trigger sequencers.
Yeah, B32 alone is not so interesting. Usually you would combine it with motor faders or encoders, stuff like that.
Or a P2B8 or 2 P2B8s.
Yeah, but then you already have many buttons.
Sure.
So then you would probably add something more with pot-like features like encoders or pots.
Okay.
But it totally depends on what you like, and you can add up to 16 controllers, 16 to one master. So
yeah, that's plenty.
Yeah, that's really plenty.
Yeah. Another question we receive rather often is if one should use the Forge to create the patch, or if one should go the old school way and use a text editor.
Okay, so first, if you don't know what the patch is, the patch in the DROID is basically the configuration of your DROID. What should it do? The mapping of each button and so on. And at the beginning, there was just a text file. We started with just text file, which is pretty fine if you are used to working with text editors. But later we created the DROID Forge. It's complete graphical user interface. Yeah. And it really helps you a lot, and is also very efficient. Even the power users switched to the DROID Forge. So I would strongly recommend skipping the text files, directly using the DROID Forge.
Looking into the text files is fine for...
They are pretty readable. If you have created a couple of DROID patches with Forge, you will very easily read the text files as well.
Yeah.
Also in the manual, we use the text representation.
Which is actually pretty good, as it is basically included in the Forge. There is the manual, so you always have a reference when using the Forge, and you can learn step by step by just using the Forge.
Yes. but you even can copy and paste text files into the Droid Forge. For example, when we communicate on our Discord channel, we always use the text files because they're super simple to post on Discord.
Yeah, sure.
And you can see them directly in Discord. You don't need to load the Forge and everything.
Yeah.
And then you can copy and paste a snippet and paste it into the Forge, and this works.
Yeah.
So
it's a plain text.
Yeah, use the Forge, and that's it. And
use the Forge.
Yeah, I use the Forge.
There is 2 masters out there right now, the Master and the Master 18. What are the differences, and which one would you recommend for a beginner?
Okay, so the main difference is that the classical master has CV inputs. These are 8 high-precision CV inputs. That's also the reason why it's a bit more expensive. So if you need to process CV signals from some other module in your system, you need the master. The Master 18, on the other hand, has a MIDI and USB implementation. So you can directly control MIDI devices from the Master 18. And it also has access to the SD card from the Forge. So you can put an USB cable from the Forge to the Master 18 and directly beam your patch to the Master 18, which is you don't need to exchange the SD card.
Okay.
You can kind of create a Master 18 from the Master later by adding X7. So the combination Master plus X7 has both advantages. You have the CV inputs, plus you have the MIDI implementation and USB. So if your task, for example, if you want to build a sequencer, usually that just needs a clock and a reset input, then the Master 18 is fine because it's cheaper. It's just 6 HP and it has the MIDI implementation. If you need the CV, then you need the normal Master.
Okay.
Also, the classical Master is a bit easier to use because it has the 4x4 LED matrix display, and you can see better what's going on at your inputs and outputs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Master 18, we designed it in that way because it's smaller. Everyone needs to save HP in these days. So it has more jacks. It has 18 jacks, inputs, outputs, MIDI, everything, and just 6 HP. So that's the reason why we don't have LEDs.
Yeah.
For a beginner, for learning to Droid and for having most flexibility, I would recommend a normal Master.
Oh, really?
Because of the LEDs.
Oh.
And you have the CV inputs, and you can
do
everything. And if you want MIDI later, you can add the X7.
Yeah, I see.
So if you already know you want to create a sequencer like the one in the Moto kit, and you don't need CV inputs, but you know you need MIDI, then probably the Master 18 is better because it's cheaper and a bit smaller.
Yeah. This is so funny because I would totally say take the Master 18, even as the beginner, because you probably don't need the inputs.
Yeah, that's.
But this is probably just my mindset to how to work with the Droid.
I mean, I've worked with both, and this LED display is really helpful if you want to see what's going on.
Yeah,
you know, you see there should be some output at output 1. I don't get something. You have the LED. You see it's flashing red or not. So that's a bit easier.
Yeah, I didn't look at this like that before. So yeah. How do you decide which features are gonna be implemented?
I mean, there's suggestions from the community. Sometimes I have own ideas, of course. So one aspect is how easy is this to implement? If there's a feature that where I say, well, that's super easy to do for me, it's just half an hour, and maybe it's just a small feature, I rather tend to make these features. And sometimes super complex things are suggested where I cannot really see. I mean, there is some benefit, but sometimes the complexity of the whole system would greatly increased.
Yeah.
Then I restrain from them, or sometimes I put features on a list. Or sometimes I have a problem on my own system. I say, oh fuck, I need this functionality. Then, of course, because I'm the creator of Droid, I can implement my own features. I mean, that's the story of Droid, of course.
Do you have an own specific Mathias Kettner, der Mann mit der Maschine secret firmware that you only use?
No. Of course, sometimes I use beta firmwares, but I have no other firmware than everyone else.
Okay.
But maybe there's one circuit I guess few people use that I've built for myself. It's the fire phase control circuit.
But this is available.
It's a topic for
basis.
of course. If, where I've built my own motor fader mixer,
Yeah.
which we can maybe feature in an own video if you want. But I use the plain software.
Yeah. How can I connect to DROID Masters, or which ways are there to connect to DROID Masters?
Let's discuss about the problem you want to solve. So most times one DROID master is not enough because you need more outputs. If your master would have 100 outputs, you just would need one probably.
Yeah.
So if you are running out of outputs, or you would split up your complex patch into several, the question is, how can the masters communicate? And the answer is there's no magic communication right now. There's some vague idea for the future where you have a digital connection between these, but that's just for the future. The fact is, in my system, I have these 6 DROID masters, and they basically just communicate over CV.
Yeah.
And it's less information that you might think. I have a clock, I have a reset, and I have a root node and the current scale. And that's basically everything that every module needs to know. And then there's some special cables, like I have a sequencer, and that is connected to another DROID that creates envelopes.
Yeah, okay. But you said 6 is a lot. You could merge it down to something like 3 or 4, you said. And 6, it's just because you naturally grew with the system, and rather than making the patch more complex on one master, you decided to have an additional master just with one functionality.
Yeah, for example, in the motor fader mixer, I don't use the outputs. I just use MIDI, which is a waste of modules, but I wanted to keep this a separate edition because it was experimental at the first time, and now it stayed. And
you could merge it, but you didn't.
There was no need in merging these.
I need more CV outputs. What should I do?
Instead of buying an additional master, do is MIDI to CV modules. For example, there are modules where you get MIDI input and 8 CV outputs, and then you either use the master 18 or the master plus X7, and can use these MIDI output devices for outputting additional CVs.
Oh, interesting.
It's just one limitation, that the sampling rate of these outputs is much lower, of course, because in order to change to another sample, you need to send a MIDI CC. So it's more like one sample change in 5 milliseconds or something, or 2.
Yeah.
And the DROID master outputs the CV with 50,000 updates per second, so 50 kilohertz. So if you want to render an envelope, MIDI is too slow.
Yeah.
If you want to play notes, it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting
pitch information, for example.
Interesting idea. Yeah.
If you just need to output gates, say 0 or 5 volts, then you can attach a G8 expander.
Or
up to 4 G8s give you up to 32 additional gate outputs. Yeah. And they are super fast and also not very expensive. And sometimes a G8 is even usable for modulating CVs. For example, velocity. Sometimes it's sufficient to have low and high velocity to make groove patterns and stuff, and you don't need really a continuous CV.
Using them as accents for drum sequences.
Maybe sometimes I have an external attenuator where I can get 0 and 2, just 2 volts. A very cheap attenuator if you have one.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
It was nice to meet you guys.